You probably clicked on the title of this video because you're pretty intrigued by it and you want to learn more about basic law. Well, my name is Caleb Pruden. I'm 21 years old. I recently just graduated Tennessee Technological University with a bachelor's in criminal justice. So I have a pretty basic understanding for how law works. Now sit back and enjoy. All right, first up, we have the difference between a deputy and a police. A deputy is a sheriff, and a sheriff is over the county. The sheriff is elected to a 4-year term, so he has to keep running for sheriff. And the sheriff's basic general responsibilities is courtroom security, they run the jails, and they also just have the safety of the county. So like Fulton County Sheriff. There's no Fulton County Police, it's a Fulton County Sheriff. Now compared to police is elected by, the police chief is put in place by the mayor. So the mayor of Atlanta is Andre Dickens. So he puts who he wants to put as the police chief. And basically the police chief is at the mercy of the mayor. His job can be taken any time by the mayor, right? And the police only can do anything inside the city limits. They can't do anything outside the city limits. So they have limited jurisdiction compared to the sheriff. They have a wide range of jurisdiction based on their county. So the main difference is police is for the city, sheriff is for the county. Sheriff has the jails. Sheriff gets elected for 4 years compared to police. He gets put in that place by the mayor. Sheriff has a wide range of jurisdiction. They have the whole county. Police have just the city. All right, next we have the 3 types of police encounters. The first one is consensual. In a consensual encounter or consensual stop with a police officer, you are not under arrest. You are free to leave. You don't have to say anything to a police officer. This is just like a police officer talking to you, asking you questions. You don't have to talk. You do not have to say anything. Now, next, we have an investigatory stop. It's always hard for me to pronounce that word. Now, an investigatory stop is basically let me think how I can say this. You're not under arrest, but you're being detained. So for an investigatory stop to happen, they have to have reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion. And in this, they may pat you down, they may see what you have on you, but they have to have reasonable suspicion to do this. Now, next, we have an arrest. When you're being arrested, you're being detained. This is when they tell you you have a right to attorney, the right to remain silent, Miranda rights, all of that. So there's a big difference between being detained and being arrested. Being detained means you're not free to go, but you're not being arrested. But when you're arrested, it means that you're being arrested. You can't leave. You done did something. And for you to be arrested, there has to be probable cause. That's the main difference between an investigatory stop and an arrest. An investigatory stop, the officer has to have reasonable suspicion. To be arrested, he has to have probable cause. After that last one, you're probably trying to understand the difference between probable cause and reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion, you have to have specific and articulable evidence that something is going on. It can't just be based off a hunch. So an example of this would be if someone is looking into a store late at night, kind of casing the store, and the officer sees this, that is reasonable suspicion. So the officer has the right to come up to you, question you, and pat you down. That is lower than the standard compared to probable cause. Probable cause has a higher legal standard. When it comes to probable cause, you have to see like somebody commit a crime. You have to have like a reason. Like an example of this would be somebody coming out of a convenience store and they have security footage of them stealing out the store and they have a bag. That's when you can be arrested. You cannot be arrested off reasonable suspicion. You have to have probable cause to arrest somebody. Remember that. You cannot be arrested off a reasonable suspicion. There has to be probable cause. Next up, we have the difference between a misdemeanor and a felony. The basic difference between these two is a misdemeanor, you serve less than a year in prison, and a felony, you serve a year or longer in prison. So with a misdemeanor, it's more for like your petty crimes, like maybe like stealing, tickets, stuff like that. But your felonies is like your more serious crime, drug trafficking, armed robbery, killing somebody, murder, manslaughter, those type of things. And basically like a misdemeanor, you'll have like smaller fines. A felony, you'll have larger fines. And then, like I said earlier, the time when it comes to serving a misdemeanor is usually less than a year, and you won't lose really like any of your rights. But with a felony, like you'll lose a good bit of your rights. You know, like felons, they can't possess firearms, they can't vote. So that's like the main difference between a misdemeanor and a felony. It's the level of a crime. Like misdemeanors are literally like petty crimes, nothing like crazy. Like all crimes is important, but like the crimes you think that aren't that serious, it's probably a misdemeanor. But your felonies are like your big like heinous crimes. Like that's the main difference. It's the type of crime and the time you serve for the crime. A felony is a year or more. A misdemeanor is a year or less. Next up, we had a difference between jail and prison. Jail is usually where you go when you're doing like a misdemeanor or you're awaiting trial. So if you're serving a year or less, you're gonna go to jail. But if you're awaiting a trial for like murder or burglary or something like that, you'll go to jail. But after you're convicted and after you've gone to trial or you've come up with a plea, then you'll go to prison. That's where you serve like your sentences that are over a year and longer time. So it's not really too big of a difference. But when someone says they've been to jail, they've been to probably jail for like less than a year if they went to jail and then went to prison. But it just served jail time. They've been in there less than a year. But they went to jail and prison. They were in jail awaiting their conviction or waiting to go to trial. Then they went to prison. And that's where they served their whole sentence at. So that's how people get like time served while they're in jail. Then they go to prison and some of their sentence is knocked off because they already been in jail. You see what I mean? But yeah, that's basically like the main difference between jail and prison. Like it's not too big of a difference, but yeah. Next up, we had a difference between probation and parole. And this is pertaining to the state level. There isn't any parole at the federal level because at the federal level, it was taken out by the Sentencing Reform Act. And when you're at the federal level, you're placed on supervised release. So what I'm about to tell you about probation parole does not pertain to federal level, federal crimes, any of that. So this is just for state. So as it pertains to probation at the state, you get probation instead of jail time at the state. Now, you don't serve any sentence, any jail time. You're just on probation at the state. But at the state, when it comes to parole, that's when you serve your time and you get out early. That's why when you hear people get sentenced, they'll say 50 years with no chance of parole or 50 years with parole. That means that you get out early before your sentence is done. So the main difference between probation and parole is probation, you don't serve any time. Your punishment is being put on probation. But when it comes to parole, you're gonna serve your time, but you have a chance to get out before you serve your full time. So let's say you get 25 years with a chance of parole. You'll have to serve a certain amount of years, then you'll be up for parole and you'll go from a board and talk to them, and then they'll determine if they're gonna let you out. You're a changed person, you deserve to be let out. But if you get sentenced to 30 years with no parole, you're not getting out. So that's just how to break it down. In layman terms, bro, if you don't have any parole, you're not getting out of jail. But if you have parole, that means you're serving time and you'll get out of jail probably before you serve your full sentence. But probation, you're not serving any prison time, any jail time. You're just getting let out and you're going to have to abide by certain conditions. But like I said earlier in the video, this only pertains to state. There is no parole or probation. It's just supervised release at the federal level. And you're supervised at the federal level by United States probation officers. Those are federal probation officers. But at the state level, you're supervised by state probation officers. Hopefully you learned a thing or two in this video, man. I'm just a college graduate that has a degree in criminal justice, but hopefully you took stuff from this video and you learned a little bit more about law enforcement. I try to include as much as I can in these videos and not go too far into depth. But if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more type of content like this, I'm trying something new. So just let me know in the comments if you want to learn more about this type of stuff. I'm gone.